And I'm very proud to say that we've got 4 gentlemen here tonight from 2 different organisations, but they're going to work seamlessly together. So first of all, let me introduce Steve Cash, who's the Outage Risk Coordinator for Fiddlers Ferry Power Station, and Dr. Mark Rudd, who's the Director of SSE Engineering Group. So please give the gentlemen a round of applause.
Hello, thanks for inviting us. We're a little out of our comfort zone here, so please bear with us. We'll take you through the path that led us to make some of the decisions, a little bit of the history behind it, and a little bit on where we are, what we do. So that's the next one. There you go, so that's what owns me. I'm also a prospect union rep, so I'm a union safety rep, I'm a union TR rep. And as I said, as Fiddlers Ferry is an employer, we wanted to improve mental health with our workforce. Some of the slides will take you through where we came to and how we came to be doing what we do, and how we teamed up with the offload, RL Curves and State of Mind to produce offload.
I picked a doctor on my way down as well, which I've not got, so I'm the Director of Engineering. I was a station manager at Fiddlers Ferry when we put this together, but I can still talk you through in terms of how and why we ended up working with the State of Mind guys. And we're not saying this is what you should do, but it seemed to work for us, so we've been asked to share our story. But just a bit of a background. Fiddlers Ferry is a 2,000 megawatt coal station in just outside of Warrington. It's due to close in March of this year. It started for 350 people. It was, at the time there was probably around 400, but in terms of the split, it was probably about 9% of male workforce, very mature workforce, very heavy industry. When the guys perhaps touch on stats, we'll see why both organisations married up really well. These are some of the safety initiatives which Steve myself rolled out on site. One team was about trying to get better engagement with contractors on site, and Steve was instrumental with that. Working groups which were focused on specific target areas, housekeeping, communications, lighting, etc. It was always trying to get better engagement with people on site.
So a lot of that came from the workforce, when we said to the workforce, what are the things, if you wanted to improve it, what could we do? So these are the things that we came up with. So with the contract staff on one site on the team, it's, I'm not sure whether it's a unique site, but we share all the same facilities, we've got the same canteen, we've got the same locker rooms, same offices, we all work to the same paperwork systems, safe systems of work and that, so it's kind of it's a lot integrated.
So at the time we've gone through, there's been a lot of change on site. We've lost about 50 people through redundancy packages, so we've lost a lot of skills, knowledge and experience on site. So it was about trying to regroup the people, get everybody back together. We knew we had certain challenges. It was trying to get engagement with the workforce. Some of the first things as we did as a station management team was get together and say, it's all about one side, we're all in this together. So we made some fundamental changes about management meetings, unions were invited, contract site managers were invited. It wasn't just the old school in terms of it was just about SSE, it was about everybody on site. It was all about that engagement, improving communications and getting the message across about, we were really serious about safety on site and the safety culture. So things like the whole lot was just something dead simple in terms of the senior management would write an article every week and we'd toolbox talk every Monday to everybody on site. I touched on that management meeting, contracts and union representation. Mine safety coaches is about, again, getting people to volunteer to be safety coaches on site and actually go out and engage with people. We asked for volunteers and we got around 90 people from site to actually volunteer. We sent them through a 2-day training course. And that was all about belief cycles and engaging with safety. Trying to change the safety culture. It wasn't about going and finding fault with people, but it was trying to educate people. We have 90 people who volunteered to do that, and they made a massive difference on site. If it's not safe, we don't do it. That's one of SSE's safety golden rule, shall we say. But one of the big things we were trying to get people to buy in and believe we were serious about safety on site. And one of the big things we did, and I've got an incident on site, I'm not going into too much detail, but we stood all site down for 2 weeks and didn't do any work on site. 2 weeks, stood everything down. Because there was still a belief in some quarters that we weren't serious about safety. So as a, a union management team, we stood all site down, we stopped generating. We didn't do any work on site for 2 weeks until we were confident we were in a place to restart work. And I think after that event, I think people then realised that the station manager was really serious about safety, and the safety was number one priority, it was about production. Perhaps I didn't think once upon a time.
Big difference is about, we get a community day each year to go and work in the community, to go and make a difference. Sometimes we exceed that, so it's like 160 staff, something like that. We each get a day each to go and work in the community. It's anything from fence painting to marshalling at events, providing first aid availability for the local cancer charities, Midnight Walk. Working at the hospice, painting, backpacking, you name it, we've done it.
Yeah, and a great place to work was a cultural service, shall we say what SSE do, across all the sites. And this was perhaps halfway through the programme. We had a survey across site, and we had a fantastic response, because people had actually bought into what we're trying to do and actually believe we were serious. We got the IOSH response rate, Fiddlers Ferry Power. It was like the third IOSH response rate in SSE, which is 22,000 people in this organisation. In terms of engagement score, we got the third highest score in the company. And for a site which is, shall we say, nearing the end of its life cycle, and you've got cloud of redundancy hanging on you. It was a fantastic testament and statement from the workforce that what we'd done seemed to be resonating, and people actually believing, in terms of what we're trying to do with the culture on the site. So that was, really pleasing at the time.
Mental health first aid, there's a couple of years the opportunity to train as mental health first aid, so I was fortunate to be one of them. One of the managers got one of the other positions, and one of the female employees, she took the third position. It was an NHS Scotland run course, so 2 days, and it was an eye-opener. But it not for anybody who's done mental health first aid, been mental health first aid. You're there to help listen and signpost people onwards. And it's having that support network once someone comes to you is the important thing.
So these are some of the things we do. It's not saying people have to do it, but it seemed to work for us, and it seemed to make a real difference on site. And people have recognised that. And we say it was all about communication and trying to get quality people what we've done. This is something we give out end of 2018. It was like some of the highlights on site. And it starts off in January, and this is where we got involved with the guys here in January. Because one of the things we wanted to do as a senior management team, one of the things we've been criticised on previously was that engagement, that visibility. So the 4 of us as senior managers, in January we delivered 2 box talks to all those sites, so 400 people. We actually went out and got in small groups of 20. It took about 5 days, but people came through and delivered different 2 box talks. And one of those 2 box talks was on mental health. Steve, the engineering manager at the town, delivered that one, and that's when we saw when it all kicked off in terms of, we couldn't believe the feedback and response we got from people on site.
It's where we started to lift the lid on it, because when you look at kind of the population of site of 30 to 50-year-olds, and they start coming forward to need to have a word, I need to chat. So it's a bit of an eye-opener. So from January onwards, sort of February, March ahead, we scoped out what we wanted to do, and we ran the first sessions from first 6 sessions, because we sort of called it 6 to tackle. So in rugby league, it was 6 things, 6 tackles, if you know the sport. So we had 6 things we wanted to tackle. Each month we tackled a different subject. We did workshops, presentations, bit of training in there as well. We put 190 of the staff. It was voluntary, so we didn't sort of force it on anybody. It's first the courses, these are the times it's running. If you want to come along, if you don't. So the first week, we put 190 people through it. Feedback, phenomenal. Great, best things from people who'll ever do. Our ops department come along and went, well, we're on 12-hour days and 12-hour nights. We're running production, we can't really get to it. So okay. So we went back then and did our ops department from the, I think it was the November onwards. And we finished in June of this year on going back and doing the same thing with them. So running the offload program with the operations department.
Yeah, you'll see the monthly engagement with the state of mind guys, and then coming back in Christmas, we came in and did a specific workshop for Christmas in terms of
drugs and alcohol, what we live among.
We engaged throughout the year in terms of state of mind and mental health. Those are the other safety initiatives which are ran across and again, that was just something sent out again for trying to improve engagement.
So, as Mark touched on, every sort of January we do what we call a return to work. So we reset the clock. Everybody resets the site induction. We do workshops with people. And one of the workshops that we ran was on mental health. The company was starting to get into it and starting to push forward with it. So we've got some literature and we said, right, that's one of the things we're going to do. Give everybody a bit of awareness, tell the people what we're going to do. And it took off from that. It was basic mental health awareness. We've already touched on our workforce is predominantly 30 to 50, some a bit older. And then we started to, when we sat down at the end of it, and what else are we going to do? We need to do something else. We can't just leave it there because the feedback was we need something else. So we'd identified Offload, which was run by the two charities, Rugby League Cares, which is the kind of the welfare arm of the Rugby League organisation. They look after a lot of player welfare, and State of Mind, which is a charity, and the guys here from State of Mind I'll tell you where they came to be funded. So we wanted the hook of Rugby League, so that was the hook, the players, the six to tackle. It's a northern sport and it worked for us. I know, Offload's programs, it starts out how people tackle mental health issues and the well-being as well of people. So we created the thing that we call a six to tackle. So each month we did a different subject. And it was former professional players, referees, people who were part of the game. And we fitted it around what we call one site, one team. So it was open to everybody, all the staff, all the contractors. There wasn't sort of, it's just for the site staff. It doesn't work like that. So
I think that's why we are resonating on South, because where we are based in Warrington, it is like a bit of good belief, so a lot of people are into the sport. So when they actually see guys who play the sport, who are coming in and showing them, how they've coped with their problems, it really hits home, and I think that's one of the reasons it really is.
So no, that's right, that's the right side. So we've done there was on the left hand side of the 6 things that we picked that we wanted to tackle, 6 things that we thought would fit with our part of the organisation. So everything to building mental fitness, controlling anger, work-life balance, mindfulness, resilience, everything that we wanted to do within that, and it all fits in with that. We then came back and said, okay, what are the additional things we're going to do? We went back and did the offload session with the operations department. Put another 75 people to do that. Drugs, alcohol and isolation at Christmas. Unfortunately, to have the services of Phil. Dr. Phil on the back, he's a real doctor in his daytime job. And we just finished one on stress because we're being made redundant. So stressing the workplace. Based around redundancy, what's it going to be? What are our options? How are we going to manage it? Because it can be very emotive with people. It can get personal. And we still have a way to go in production. So we've got to run up to our closure date bizarrely, and then we're getting finished up. So it's a bit difficult to manage for us at the moment. Okay.
I think we've touched on it. Again, there was just photographs from the sessions, you know, it was voluntary, never ever once said it was mandatory, you know, but as it built, more and more people were coming because we were going back and we were speaking to the colleagues and telling them how good it was, how powerful these presentations were. So, you know, the word of mouth really, you know, got people to attend and large numbers. From a, you know, me being station manager, I got to the station manager's meeting, was telling people what we're doing, and they started picking up it. So the guys have been across the whole firm fleet now. It's gone into networks business, I think, with a business of 7,000 people, and I think the guys have, you know, just agreed a programme with the networks business. So, you know, you do see these guys speak, you realise in terms of why it's been so popular.
Okay. Some words, I'm not going to read them out to you. Give you a minute to read yourself. From Dr. Phil McCartney.
Well, these guys are the real stars of the show. You know, we identified we had an issue, we needed help and support, and we tackled this issue. And unfortunately, you know, with the offload and the state of mind being very close to Warrington and where the power station's based, you know, we picked up on it quite early. And, you know, they've worked with us developing specific workshops and sessions to tackle these issues. But I know it's made a difference, and I think Steve as a union rep and, you know, full-time rep on site will tell you, we know it has made a difference because people have come forward and people are, you know, getting help with their issues, and that's, you know, thanks to Phil. So I know it is making a difference, it has made a difference, and, you know, I've attended every one of these sessions at different times, and I've picked up little things, you know, which help me now in terms of coping with shall I say, their stresses of work, shall I say, just simple things like, you know, do things that you like doing, make time for it. So, you know, I've learned stuff on it, I've no doubt Steve, but, you know, when you see the guys speak, you'll realise why it has been so, you know, impactful.
RL Cares, which the welfare arm of the rugby league, look after player welfare, in partnership with the States of Mind and the offload, and helped us in the beginnings of setting it up.
We won an award within SSE, but we've put forward in terms of the programme we've done.
You can see it there, I think we've sent through, you can print some handouts or whatever you've got at the slide. But one of the we had 4 criteria they were looking for. One of them was a stronger approach to things. We put forward how we, or wrote a case study on how we've done or made it mental health stronger within our workforce, or help them to make that. It does make a difference. I know personally, colleagues of mine that have gone through it and said, yeah, recognising symptoms in the husbands. When they've gone to the course, he's gone, yeah, he's doing that, yeah. Straight home and sorted it out.
I think that's about us in terms of
that's us. Right.
how and why we end up working with the guys. These are the stars of the shows.
So the previous mention, Dr. Phil Cooper and Mr. Jimmy gets to review.
No pressure on us, skip, is there?
No, it's the short man. You all excited? Yeah. I'm really enthusiastic. Nice one, thank you very much indeed. Okay, so good evening, thank you very much. IOSH. We're honored to be here tonight, thank you very much indeed. Okay, state of mind is that a project's been running in professional rugby league alongside rugby league, as the guy said. We've delivered sessions to all the professional rugby league clubs in the UK, been to numerous Premier League football clubs, cricket clubs to Gaelic football, all over the place really. Plenty of big companies, a lot of construction companies, Google, a whole range of different companies. Anyway, that's enough of that. Okay, so my name's Phil Cooper. I work at NHS as a nurse consultant, and I work with people with the most severe mental health and drug and alcohol misuse problems. And this gentleman is.
Good evening, guys. My name's Warrington. I'm a former professional rugby league player. I'd just like to thank Dr. Phil Cooper for putting that lovely picture of me there. And we just got out of my farm doing one of those challenges. And as you can see, Phil's picture is a lot more glamorous than mine. So that's it.
Okay, you're very welcome, no problem. Okay, so the aims for tonight, for the next hour and a half, only messing, sorry. Okay, so look at well-being. So you've got healthy minds. We've got healthy minds here in IOSH tonight. Yeah. Ooh, that's 3. That's genius. Okay, so plenty to work with. Tell you a little bit about the impact of prescription drugs, alcohol, in terms of professional and semi-professional rugby league in different sports, and how we try to get professional rugby league players to help each other out during a season and a part of that squad. So there's 3 of them we should ask.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've asked you about healthy minds. Anyone got any filthy minds in here tonight? All right, okay, so what we tend to do is, if we're in front of a squad of players, so we're going to treat you as if you are our professional players this evening. So if we're in front of a squad of players, what we'll do is ask those squad of players if they've got healthy minds, and if they know anyone within their squad in the last couple of weeks who's been feeling a little bit stressed out. So we'll ask them if you know anyone, whether that's fellow players, coaches. Same applies to yourself in the last couple of weeks. Do you know anyone who's been feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge? Or if you know anyone who's not been able to stop or control worrying, or worrying too much about loads and loads of different things maybe, or having difficulty relaxing, or being quite restless, finding it hard to sit still. Don't suppose anyone in IOSH gets easily annoyed or irritable, does it? Okay, and feeling afraid as if something really bad or awful might happen. Now, all of these things are going to happen to every one of us in this room at some point, but it's about how many things happen at the same time and what you do to try and manage that.
So out of interest, has anybody in this room ever had a bath? Not sure that. That's not a good question, trust me. Has anybody in this room ever done any controlled breathing? Are you aware of what controlled breathing is? Nice one, thank you. Right, okay, well, we had players who followed out on the pitch who were physically sick, who were anxious about getting on that pitch, they'd be anxious about holding up the phone. And we had a number of coaches who were bringing controlled breathing to try and lower that level of anxiousness. So if you've ever, when you love a warm bath, especially this time of year now, it's going to be a bit chillier, you'll lower yourself down to that lovely warm bath, that lovely feeling of relaxation you get, you can transfer that from controlled breathing. You can do 10 to 15 really nice deep inhalation breaths and exhale out nice and slow, so your belly feels like it's turning, your toes are curling. It'll reduce any sort of levels of anxiety. I use it for, I struggle with sleeping on a night, and I use controlled breathing before I go to sleep. It's fantastic, and I've got to be honest, I'm a true Yorkshireman. I am tighter than a submarine door, and it's free, so it's fantastic.
So what we're going to do, thanks for the submarine analogy, that's good. Okay, so what we're going to do now is going to invite you to be our specialist in depressed mood. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask my esteemed colleague, Mr. Gittins here, some questions about his mood in the last couple of weeks. And based on the answers that he gives, what I'd like you to do is tell us whether you think he's got no symptoms, mild, moderate or severe. You okay with that? The enthusiasm's good at this time. So, Mr. Gittins.
Dr. Cooper.
Okay, in the last couple of weeks, have you experienced little interest or pleasure in doing things?
I mean, I used to find lots of things pleasurable. I wasn't a bad golfer for a while, but nowadays I feel really lethargic, and the things that I used to enjoy doing, I cannot be bothered doing those, to be fair. I don't want to go into it with some person.
Okay, alright, thanks for that. And again, in the last couple of weeks, you've been feeling down, depressed, hopeless, like there's no future.
I lost my job sort of 18 months ago, and I've been applying for work that doesn't do anybody that's sort of like employed my kind of skill set. So it's leaving me again really flat and dejected, and I just can't motivate myself. Yeah, to be honest, at the moment, I'm probably the lowest I've been.
Okay, alright, and again, the last couple of weeks, have you had any difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or sleeping too much?
Well, you'd think because I'm not working that I'd have an abundance of energy, and I'd be bumbling around the house doing lots of little jobs. I'm sure my wife would be really grateful if I was, but I'm not. I hang around the house, and when she comes home, then with a bit of tea, which my wife's really tired, she goes to bed. and I find myself sitting on the television on play, the remote control and just flick. I'm really grateful for that. Number you gave me is your 462 base station. It's about midnight and that's early hours.
Alright, again, the last couple of weeks, have you been feeling bad about yourself, or you've let people down in some way?
Oh mate, well you know when people ring me and you ring myself, I never reply to calls. I sometimes don't reply to messages, people knock on my door and I ignore the door if I'm brutally honest, so I'm not really a good mate at all, to be honest at the moment.
Okay, alright, and again, last couple of weeks, have you experienced any difficulty, I don't know, concentrating on television maybe, or reading the paper, or anything like that?
Love that. Sorry, pal.
And that's possibly the worst acting you're seeing. Okay. Again, the last couple of weeks, have you experienced a change in your appetite, not eating as much as usual, or eating too much?
We have to stick to the script. I mean, I don't know a little bit.
If you want.
Well, obviously, having been a former player, we used to always look after ourselves. We always ate the brown rice rather than white rice, lots of fresh fish, fruit. And as an athlete, when you were training, it was very easy to keep your weight down. But unfortunately for me, since my injury, my weight fluctuates a little bit. And I like my food. I love my food. But I can't blame it totally on that. I always think there's other influences. And one of those influences is a guy called Steve, long hair Steve actually. He's just over there, but now so we call him Steve. But we do the cheeseburger challenge 2 times a week at McDonald's. I'm down there with him on Tuesday. He's knocking out about 32 cheeseburgers. And I did about 29. So I reckon another couple of weeks and I'll have him smashed.
Okay, alright, again, the last couple of weeks, had any feelings that you want to be better off dead or want to hurt yourself in some way?
Oh mate, listen, I'm from a little village called Warrington in West Yorkshire, and I'm proper soft. I think if I wasn't here, I don't think it would miss me, to be honest.
Okay, alright, thanks for that. So, fine, people of IOSH, do you think Mr. Gittins here has no symptoms, mild, moderate or severe? What do you reckon? I don't think we're taking this too lightly at all, but the starting point before state of mind was?
This young man here was a guy called Terry Newman. Terry was an out-and-out rugby player. He was a bit of an animal on the pitch, a bit of an animal off the pitch, to be fair. Quite a non-forgiving character. And Terry, toward the back end of his career, signed a contract with my local town, actually, away from Trinity. And he was struggling with an elbow injury. And sometimes people might say he was a little bit gullible in some of the bad advice that he took, and he took the growth hormone, which is a banned substance in our game. He took a doping test and he proved positive, and he got a 2-year ban. Terry, during that ban, he wasn't himself. He went on a Sky Sports interview, and he did a live interview on Saturday morning with Brian Carney. And he was a polar opposite to what Terry was. Terry, like I say, was very an unforgiving sort of character. He was never apologetic for anything. And he was stood there, he was on that live show, and he was sorry for how he let his family down, sorry for his behaviour towards his parents, really sorry for how he'd gone about things. And 2 weeks later he went home and knew himself and his family home. It sent absolute shockwaves through rugby fraternity, and I guess those questions that Dr. Scudder just asked me now, we asked those questions. A, if we'd have had the opportunity to ask Terry those questions I would have answered. B, could we change the outcome? We don't know the answer to B. What we do know is what we do on a day-to-day basis now. We hope we can make a difference. And hopefully Terry, if you're looking down thinking, at least, that's not we've been in vain, that we're making a big difference over the last 8 years.
Cheers for that, Jimmy. So, Karen Carney on your left, playing for England, talked about her own issues around depression when she was playing at the World Cup. Victoria Pendleton talks about her own issues about self-harm prior to becoming an Olympic athlete, and also dealing with depressed mood on a regular basis. So what we know is that everyone in this room is going to experience rough times. Suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 50. It's a leading cause of death in new mothers and young people. Middle-aged men, so back to Fiddlers Ferry, that demographic within the power station, we're at the highest risk group. And suicide rates where different sports teams play can often be higher than the national average, so using the means of sport to get to particular groups is a really, really useful thing. So your support, if you want to choose to follow us on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, we'll give you a card with those details before you leave. We know that people have told us throughout the year when we send messages out from different athletes, different personalities from different sport, to say where you can get help and support has saved people's lives. So the mere fact of retweeting a tweet sometimes can make a massive difference. John Clark here was at Warrington Wolves when this film was made, but he's now the strength and conditioning coach for England and the Union.
We have had probably 3 really big events, particularly change that I can think of, going back to being 19 and 20, coming through the ranks of Wigan. Hitting every mark I should have. I was captain at Great Britain Academy at the time, so I was doing really well, playing for Wigan's first team, and I got myself in trouble in Wigan Town Centre after the 1998 Grand Final, which resulted in me going to jail. That was probably the first bit of adversity that I had to deal with in my life, but also in my professional career. Looking back, I don't think I handled it the right way. I came out of jail and decided to play for Wigan again. I wasn't fit, I couldn't play properly, so I ended up leaving the club and going down to Wigan Broncos and trying to restart my career from there. And, you know, looking back, looking at it properly, I probably spent the next 3 or 4 or 5 years in no man's land, really. You know, for and I didn't really have much direction in my career. It was only sort of 2005, 2006 where I actually started getting back to playing some decent rugby and getting my life back on track. There was a couple of big changes at the same period of time which really knocked me. One was having to leave Warrington Wolves, which I've been at 10, 11 years for. Unfortunately, at that time, that actually coincided with the death of my brother-in-law as well. I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. I was meant to go and join a new club in Widnes for a new challenge, which I was actually really looking forward to, but I just couldn't do it. The missus was literally trying to drag me out of bed every morning, trying to get me to go train. I just couldn't do it. I'd sit on the rug at night and, you know, crying to her around about my brother-in-law. My sister, obviously, with 4 kids that left with the previous marriage, so I'm sure my missus was going through a terrible time as well to try and deal with me on my own. So looking back, what I was going through, I'm not really sure. I'm sure I'd do things differently again, and I almost shut the door to people. I did the male, egotistical type thing. I'll get through this on my own, and I don't need anyone's help with anyone else. So yeah, my advice would be is to, if you are suffering from these type of problems, to seek out some help. Certainly out there, you know, I'm sure it'll make things a lot easier to cope with.
Okay, so again, what we're trying to do is get professional athletes to talk about the coping with different changes in their own life, which obviously people will pick up loads of those things from their own lives. And this is Andrew Johns, one of the best rugby league players that's ever played the game, won the Golden Boot twice as the world's best player. He was the kicking coach for England Rugby Union when they beat the Wallabies in Australia a couple of years ago. But he talked in his career about the stigma of having a mental imbalance being terrible, and he used to feel ashamed. He's going to be depressed about he's a massive hero, and massive hero, but also still is in Australia as a commentator now. But he was diagnosed with a bipolar illness when he was 24, but he never actually revealed that till the end of his career. Now, are you familiar with bipolar illness? Big sort of change in mood from very, very extreme mood to very, very low, depressed mood. These are some of the pressures that players will be facing, whether at the World Cup or in any particular sport at the weekend. A type of contract of what they're getting paid, getting picked to play first team or moving clubs, losing form, being in the spotlight, changing coaches, that anxiety about performance, or isolation when you finish playing or you're injured and you can't play anymore, or anger at losing contracts. So big issues that certainly resonate with the power station that's on, you know, winding down before it becomes decommissioned. So lots of issues that are
Simmons it is who plays it. Ferguson, 19-year-old, he's a rangy type, he's a good mover out there, as is Tony
just a scratches that now. I mean, you don't really need to be a doctor to realise that foot shouldn't be facing that way. That player, a guy called Cameron Shirallo. Now, I know a little bit about injuries on the field, and it can be really, really lonely times. But we show that video there because that there is a physical, visual injury. You can all see it, quite a nasty break there to the right leg. And we look at that and think, you know, probably within half an hour, you'll have medical attention, and they've been prepped in the back of the stadium, and within an hour probably in the medical centre and get it fixed up. And if that would have been a mental health issue, and Cameron wants to come off the pitch and say, you know, to his coach, I'm not feeling right, there's something not right, my head's all fuzzy, there's lots of breaks, patches, how would it have been dealt with? Would he be told just to go home, have a rest, come back to review on Monday? We kind of look at that and maybe think, you know, maybe it's time we start looking at things in the same light, the same treatment.
Okay, so again, and that's really, really relevant for a power station in the situation that Fiddlers Ferry was, with lots of different things happening around that particular workforce. So we know that different people will cope with injuries, such as Cameron Schiraldo's in different ways. Don't suppose anyone drinks alcohol in here today? No, I didn't think so. We've heard no before, we're going to ask you in a minute anyway, so that's okay. But sometimes people might use things that aren't quite as positive to cope day to day. And when we first began in rugby league, professional rugby league, we had no idea what big, strong rugby league players like Jimmy and lots of other professional athletes would do to get help and support. There was a confidential helpline in rugby league before 2010. Do you know how many rugby league players had ever rang it? Well done,
Yep.
nobody has, that's good. So, but again, you know, so there was some offer there, but nobody had actually taken that step for whatever reason to take that next step.
A little bit of interaction now, guys. Why don't we speak up? What do you think? Stephen? Ara? Brilliant. This is good. I've just seen our answer to this. I mean, sometimes when we go to different places, we have to say, you know, I'd always think that it's actually suicide that's killing people. I think it's the prejudice, stigma around it. Macho culture, weak if you can't cope. Certainly when we first started with rugby league, we probably knocked on one of the toughest doors to knock on in that of being an alpha male sport. You know, players would not show their emotions because when they did it, they then got exposed. But that's fine on a pitch, but when it's doing it into home life and day-to-day life, that's a problem. Need to earn money, reluctant to seek help, bottled up feelings, shame of failure, use of negative coping mechanisms, strategies.
For my age group,
Many is 45 to 56. Why do we think that some of these are the highest risk? You know, so we've got broken dreams. You know, how many of us a youngster have this ideal of where we want to be at midlife, and perhaps we don't get there, and that knocks us back. Money problems, debt, redundancy. It's certainly a lot easier to get a job in your 20s than it is maybe in your mid-50s if you lose your career. Divorce, obviously, can be carrying massive implications. Changing attitudes. You know, something for me, when I was a youngster, and I first started out in the trade, my dad was my boss, and he was a very straight type of bloke. And you know, sometimes the terminology that we used, you know, in our house, you weren't allowed to poorly. Unless something went off you didn't have a day off work because you felt unwell. Things that were said, grow up, man up, you know, that's not how it should be, that's not how it is now. We have to change, we have to be flexible. So what's some of your pressures? These are, yeah. Put them on.
there you
There we go. So when we go into some of the construction companies and the larger organisations, every one of them will recognise many of these things. You know, financial constraints. I mean, we've gone into some companies 2 years ago where there may have been 200 staff. We've gone in last year and no 100 staff. But they wanted the same outcome, they wanted the same deliverance. So the pressures are massive on them. Outcomes and deadlines, performance reviews, complaints, exhaustion, burnout is a massive one because you know, many of us always want to do his best and try his best, but that leads us to problems. Fear of blame, demand and local transparency, increasing technology. We work a lot with some of the construction companies now where some of the boys have been trenching and digging out for the last 20 and 30 years. The boys here will tell you all about that, how the lads used to work. And now all of a sudden they're given an app or an iPad and they're going to put a lot of information before they can actually start digging a hole. Then they're going to put information at the end of it and it just, you can't all work with that. Negative media interest, massive something in the sport we get very involved in.
Okay, so promoting mental fitness in place. So when we've been to a lot of junior clubs, amateur clubs as well as professional clubs, what we tend to find, or what we have found, is there's a massive focus on being physically fit. So to be strong, to be fit, to be fast. But there was very little emphasis on that mental fitness. So when we're in academy squads now, what we'll tend to do is to get those young athletes to start focusing on being mentally fit from a very young age and make sure they get into the habits of things that help them stay mentally fit. So eat as well as you can, keeping as active as you can, doesn't matter what your situation is. Sleeping as well as you can, do the things that you're good at and make sure you keep doing them, because if you don't feel so good, you'll stop doing the things that you're good at, you'll stop doing the things that you enjoy. And Jimmy touched on it before, certainly in professional rugby league and in rugby union, you will find that professional athletes will not want to show weakness on the pitch. Very wise decision, because what will happen is their opposition are going to target them for looking tired or looking injured. However, again, taking that mentality away from the game is potentially a really difficult thing to do.
So how many people in this room have ever drinking alcohol? I don't think today. Yeah. Okay, what do you think about your first drink of alcohol, how old you were and where you were? I'd like 2 examples, maybe one from a male, one from a female. I don't get 2 examples of
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, 15, what was it?
Probably bitter of some description.
Nice. What the ladies?
I was 12 and I was on a tour, a school tour in France, and we were given, to thank us for something we'd done, we were given crates of wine.
At 12?
I was the youngest, most of the others were
Is the trip still going?
I had a skill, so that was my, so I was fancy youngest, but they didn't stop me, so.
We obviously asked this question where we go, and our stock answer is normally 13 to 15 on a pan with Frost Jack, White Lightning, Scrumpy, 2020, all the siders we haven't seen any apples in it. Although you're saying that, we've been to London, we've had a few gins and sherries and gins. Look, the reality is, guys, that 90% of us drink alcohol in the UK. Not necessarily, but we are not the alcohol police. We are not here to try and say don't drink alcohol, we're just trying to say everything in moderation. However, we may know something like this. No, we don't do it, Mr. Skip. What I'm going to do now is I'm asking 4 questions called a cage alcohol assessment. If you were to go to your GP with a potential drink problem, he would ask you these 4 questions. Now, don't shower your answers, we'll get that result at the end of it. The skips it before. I think we're only a handful of us that drink alcohol. Yeah. Okay, question number 1. Have you ever tried to cut down your level of alcohol that you consume? Yes or no? Yes. Quick, don't shower your answers. Question number 2. Have you ever got angry at people for having a go at you about the level of alcohol you consume? Yes or no? Question number 3. Have you ever felt guilty about something you've done under the influence of alcohol? Yes or no? Question number 4. Have you ever done it the following morning after a big night out to get yourself going again? Yes or no? Now, 2 yes answers are a potential sign of an alcohol problem. Just a bit of change, Skip. So right now we have a rethinking answer, so maybe changing answers, I'm not so sure. But the reality is, guys, we've all been on stag do's, end do's. We've got to drink the following morning for 10:30, it's just part of the rules. But again, it's not often it's happening. If that's the kind of situation we're in on a regular day-to-day basis, there's a problem there. So again, we just kind of buzz into this subject here and buzz away from the thinking.
Okay, super. So, what we find in professional sport is we come across lots of people who struggle to sleep after a big game if they've been on television or performing live. Lots of professional players and lots of sport will experience this phenomenon. Any idea why athletes are going to struggle to sleep after a big game? Adrenaline. Bang on. Elite athletes, which will be a bit like elite people in IOSH, will always find that sometimes they'll be, rather than taking the positives out of the situation, they may overthink stuff and they'll go over the negative things that we didn't do well rather than things that we did do well. Sometimes that can really mess with sleep pattern. So these are just comments from professional athletes. But for us, in terms of the controlled breathing that Jimmy talked about before, really, really good way to focus. Relaxing your body by doing deep muscle relaxation. So tensing your fists as tight as you can for as long as you can till it's comfortable, then let it go. And then just alternate that for a few minutes. But working the way all the way through your body is a really good way at night time if you're struggling to sleep, to focus your mind on doing something slightly to get it.
Cheers, Skip. So I'll just give you a little backdrop on myself. I played for just over 10 years professional rugby league. I wasn't the best rugby league player, not by a long shot. The level of rugby that I played, it wasn't like today's Super League, so I always had to work alongside of playing. I was in the championship levels. So my industry back then was the building trade. Early 90s, it wasn't a bad place to be in. It was certainly fun. It was quite relaxed. It wasn't like it is now today with the health and safety and the regulations that's there. And it was very much a, for me, it was just an alpha male group, but be on the building industry or on rugby league. And for me, it was a perfect way of life. In fact, I think, if I'm honest, I had a perfect life. I would have my mates on the train, on the field, and on the team, and have my mates in the building industry. Towards the back end of my career, the building company that I worked for was my dad's business, and we dropped a contract with a company called Betfred, the bookies. So it took us from a relatively small company to quite a substantial company very, very quickly. So I had to come away from the game, the professional game, so I could no longer commit to training. I went out of the game for about 12 months, and I got an opportunity to go back and play with my local amateur club. I was missing the game. If you cut me in half, my DNA is rugby league. I played rugby league, I missed it that much. And I got an opportunity to go back and play with my local amateur club, which was a fantastic opportunity because they understood that I couldn't train, so I couldn't be with them during the week. But because I looked after myself and kept myself fit, we were happy to have in that changing room, that pitch. I remember the Friday night before the game, polishing the boots. I've not polished my own boots for quite some time. I remember the Saturday morning getting in the dressing sheds and getting stripped, and when you got your DP and your objects on, your body kind of goes into a rigid mode. You know you're going to go on the pitch, you know someone's going to have a right good go at you, you're not going to have a right good go at them. It's fantastic if you like that sort of thing. And the hairs on the back of the neck stand up now thinking about it. And unfortunately, when I got on that pitch, 4 minutes into that game, my life changed forever. I took a ball into a tackle, nothing malicious, nothing untoward, nothing I've done 1,000 times before. I wasn't the biggest of players who would try and duck underneath the bigger players and release the ball. And as I went into that tackle, I just heard this noise, this harrowing noise. It was horrendous. I mean, I've had injuries before where things have been broken and stuck out, but this one was different. It was like a really long pinging noise. And from the tackle we made of me going to the ground, I'll paralyse my neck down and actually snap my neck in 2 places. The C34, which is out lesions in the back of the neck there. I remember being on that floor and I remember thinking, I knew it was bad. I knew it was bad because there was no pain, there was nothing, I couldn't feel anything. Like I said, no, it's something stuck out or bleeding or reason discomfort. And I remember saying to Tina, I laid on my arms and he said, no mate, they're the side of you. I looked down, I could see my arms, I could see my legs, but I couldn't feel anything, I couldn't move anything. Now we're supposed to be these big tough macho rugby players that show no emotions. I can tell you now I was terrified. I was petrified of the feelings or the lack of feelings that I was having. I was then transferred from the pitch to Leeds General Infirmary, where when I got there, they operated on me, they cut me front and back, went in and then put a metal plate on my vertebrae, broken vertebrae to stabilise me. When I came round, I went in quite a bad way, physically wise, I couldn't move anything from my neck down. They took me down into a room and basically said, look, your lad's going to be paralysed for the rest of his life. I can't imagine what that felt like for me alone. I was out of it at this point. When I came round, I was stabilised and then transferred me to Wakefield to the spinal unit, and the surgeon came with me. And we hadn't been introduced, we hadn't spoken to each other. And he leaned up my bed and his opening lines to me was, I'm sorry son, but your life's never going to the same again. You're never going to be able to sit up, you're never going to be able to feed yourself, you're never going to be able to walk, you're never going to have children. All the things that we kind of take for granted, I'm never going to have again. Now I'm 28 years of age, and this is not how I saw my life now. I was a very, very physical alpha male. I don't mind saying that, that my life was all about that. And now all of a sudden, now I'm back in this almost baby form where everything, and I mean everything, had to be done for me. I couldn't do a thing for myself. That in itself was just horrendous. Given the prognosis of the doctor, I decided that night was going to be the last night I went to sleep. I wasn't going to be able to cope with this. My brother came to see me the following morning, and as he leaned over the bed saying good morning, I cut him off and I said, mate, you're going to have to do something for me. I physically can't do for myself. And I have to put a pillow on my face and to kill me to take my life. I didn't want to be here. I did not want to be here. Under those circumstances, there's no way I could push me around, cleaning me, feeding me, doing all the things for me that I was told I wouldn't have to do. Now my brother's a strong kid, he's my rock, he's my best friend. And he said, Jimmy, don't talk that way. Don't even think that way. He did however say that in 18 months' time I still felt the same way. If you look at it from it, which looked really good of him, it looked shit. But to be honest, that was the turning point. That was the critical point for me. It was that point where sometimes in life it comes down to 2 options, and that is you can either get up or you can give up. Simple as that. I can sugarcoat all you want, I can give you lots of different angles, and believe me, I've been going for every one of them. But at this point now, when you're so low down, that's the only options you've got. And we decided to set some goals. And I decided that, look, when I go into different places now speaking, do this on a regular basis, I always say if you're going to use a goal, make it achievable. Give yourself a goal that you can reach, you can obtain, because otherwise the fall back down is a lot further than where you began. And use the small, achievable goals. It's very, very important that we get it right, that a goal and a vision is 2 different things. A vision is something that you aspire to, something put out, so far out reach that you want it. That isn't a goal. A goal is what you use in order to achieve that vision. And use small goals. Each time you do them, you tack them off and you give yourself a little pat on the back. It's very, very important that you give yourself that little tag on the back, because sometimes the journey is very, very long and arduous and difficult. So I decided that my first goal was to shave myself. I knew that in order to get out of the hospital, these little goals that I had to do before I could even think about standing up for a walk. So to shave myself, the nurses that looked after me, they were lovely, lovely lasses. Unbelievable lasses, angels without wings. They could not shave a man. So we had a nice razor strapped to the back of my hand, my brother, my hand, my dad on my elbow, and we took it on my face and it felt fantastic. Because I could do something for myself, albeit with a little bit of help, but something I stress in life is if you ask for help in the right manner, you get it in spades. My 2 further goals after this was to pick my own nose and wipe my own bum. And I'm happy to share it tonight, I've achieved both those goals. I wasn't always playing safe, let me tell you. I was in hospital for 9 months, and it's a long time. It became my safe zone. It became that place where, when I fell out of a chair, which I did on a regular basis, people picked me back up and put back in it. If I had questions, there was somebody there always to answer that question for me. And then when I got home, I realised that block was back there again, because I couldn't just go to the car and meet friends, I couldn't just go down to the gym, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do without loads and loads of preparation and planning. And that wasn't me. Planning and preparation did not even fit in my life. Now it does on a day-to-day basis. You have to do that. And sometimes I think in life you have to be flexible. You have to change around. You know, you can stand there and be this big oak tree that takes all the problems and all the hassle that comes with it. And you'll stand there and you'll look a big tough and firm, and a big gushing will come and blow you straight out of the ground. Or you can be a palm tree and you can be flexible. And I'm more the palm tree now. I understand that I have to move and be flexible. So I want to be able to last. I want to be able to sustain things. Otherwise, you can't. You really need that big stud thing, but sometimes you have to be moved, flexible. So I still got to the point where I needed something else in my life. Physically wise, I was never going to lay bricks again. I wasn't going to play rugby league, but I needed something. And I got involved in some charity work. A young man that played rugby league, a guy called Steve Prescott, he was an unbelievable man. Unfortunately, Steve was diagnosed with terminal cancer in 2006 and he was 6 months to live. But he was the most honest, selfless, gentle man I've ever come across. And he was the one guy that taught me true meaning in life and never ever give up on what we face. We started off by doing small, minimal challenges. We walked from Hull to Old Trafford to the ball for the grand final. I did the wheelchair pushing me. We came up through France on bikes. I did an adaptive quad bike. We dragged a boat over the English Channel, up the River Thames, like to Johnny Vegas and the boat, which was dead funny at the time. Never said what else there. But I became the second person to uncycle from one country to other. In Lands on Gorse on the jog where Skip joined me, my team member. And I jumped out of aircraft at 15,000 feet with Red Devils. I've done numerous marathons, half marathons. You name it, we've kind of done it. Not for accolades or for trophies and for medals, but to prove to people that even when you think you are on your backside, there are alternatives. There are always alternatives in life, providing you are prepared to look for them. You know, I have to say to people now, I work now a lot with younger people or with large business and construction companies, is that the only person, how do you feel about it? I said, well, we have a mutual understanding. He doesn't speak to me and I don't speak to him. But on a serious note, I would not allow him to be the negative. He's now my positive. He's my positive. What was it like? What was it they missed on the pitch? And I said, well, actually, it's not on the pitch that I missed. And nowadays, my team isn't no longer on the field. My team's all around me. My team and my family, my team and my colleagues, my team and my mates. And when I look at it that way, I think, you know, if every one of us in this room, every one of you in this room now part of the team, whether you like it or not, and every one of you in this room now part of my team. So if one of you was struggling, I put my arm for you. If I was struggling, you put your arm for me. And I think that collectively we should have that empathy towards one another so we can help one another. We have that strapman as mate. If one of your mates were on the floor, you wouldn't just walk past them. You would walk over and put your arm off and help them. That's what you do. Try to do two things in life, guys, and that is in life. If we can go out there and do what we can to the best of our ability, and when I say our ability, no one else expects what we can do. Be the best you, but most importantly, with a smile on your face. And you do all that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so how we finish up the session, so we look at how you improve your mental fitness. We'll give you a card so you can keep these tips with you before you go. Again, do simple things that you enjoy every day, as we mentioned before. Keep as active as you can, don't quiet down and John Gross, of course, but whatever fits in with your world. Learn something new, which you will probably do on a regular basis. Talk about how you feel, really, really important. Ask for help if you need it. Can you encourage that within your own organisation to boost that productivity within your own company? Keep in touch with your friends, help each other out, as Jimmy pointed out really well. A great trick a lot of athletes will use is just try to pick a positive moment for every day and make sure you use that moment as you start and put in focus. Accept who you are, doesn't matter who you are, but don't forget to take a break when that pressure builds, both on and off the field for us in sport, but wherever you are in the world at any point in time. As in sport, as in life, performance improves when a player feels good about themselves and their own lives. And good mental fitness is absolutely vital for that peak performance in sport. So for us, we started off to tell you a little bit about our confidential outline. Since 2011, since the passing of Terry, and lots of support put in place for those players. over 400 professional and semi-professional players have accessed help to improve their mental fitness. Over a quarter of all those rugby league professionals. So a real indictment of what's happened and how things can change. You will all have varieties of this: human resources, occupational health, mental health first aiders, as Steve mentioned earlier on, trusted colleagues. But again, obviously there'll be lots of support around any particular organisation. But again, we can guide people to where there's different help if that's needed. So for us, we've looked at a little bit at your well-being and considered the importance of having a healthy mind tonight. Looked at a bit about prescription drug use like sleepers and painkillers. Looked at potential issues in industry or your sector, but you'll be thinking about your own as you sit here. And ultimately, if you feel good, people are going to perform better and live well away from work or the game. So for us, we're just unbelievably grateful. Thank you. Where's he gone? Where's Chris gone? Oh, thanks, Melanie, for the invite as well. Really, really a pleasure to be in front of you. Just want to wish you all the very best. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Fantastic presentation. Loads and loads of information to take away. Do we have anybody else that needs burning questions? Surely there's a few questions. Now, how do you do it? Or John?
You're going to chuck the box at me here, yeah? Hi guys, absolutely brilliant presentation. More of a comment, I think, than a question, because when we're talking about the stigma for mental health, I'm the person that's suffering. It's finding the people that listen to me. I've just completed the level 3 mental health training courses, so I've been through all the bits and pieces and understand what it's all about. How do we reach those people who want to convince their others?
Okay. I mean, Jimmy can talk about different things. From my perspective, when I work in the NHS, I work with people with more severe mental health problems and with alcohol problems. I don't think anyone's difficult to engage. It's just about what we've got in place to engage them. So I suppose for us and Fiddlers Ferry, in the heart of rugby league land, rugby league sort of resonates, sport resonates with lots of people. But again, it's not usually about sport, it's about the messages disguised in sport thing. You've got to make it entertaining, it's got to be interactive, you've got to use different learning styles when you're presenting. All those things add up to triggering somebody to come up. What we found when we went into different places is people either won't stand up in front of the audience and say anything, however, they do come up to us at the end and say, when we first went into rugby league, players were going, it's like, I ticked off all of those sort of things that you said about anxiety and depression. I didn't know it was there, now I think I actually need to do something about it. It's about trying to trigger it. When Jimmy does the alcohol screen, you just get people to think about it with a brief intervention, introduce the ideas, and then move on. So people can think about it. So people will have thought about lots of things during this session tonight, bits that resonate with them with themselves or people they know or families. It's all about just targeting your workforce and you get to fantastically at Fiddlers Ferry, and then how you sort of what's the word? Shape it to your need factory license, for example. Lots of different sort of areas.
Well, you've probably got as much experience as I have with the blue light services, but here at Jimmy's Hall, I've been in the service 30 years. 30 years ago, you wouldn't dare to mention any of this stuff. You were lucky.
Question?
Yes.
Ready?
Hi guys, excellent presentation. I spent 12 years in the military and I've witnessed firsthand, different aspects of mental health and related to trauma. Would you consider expanding into helping veterans, especially those ones that are out on the street that can't find that salvation to deal with their mental health issues?
We've gone to several areas, to be fair. The one called Dolphin.
Oh, right. Oh, so it's a really good point to raise, I think. Myself and Jim, we've been down to, we've done sessions for different regiments when they come up to play rugby games or sports games or inter-service fixtures. There's recently been a guy from the RAF who died during a rugby game, so we were involved in supporting the regiment after that. So we've been out to Portsmouth. The offload that these guys have adapted into Fiddlers Ferry, we use that within Rugby League Club, so it's a big lottery funded project. where there's no referral, so but it's blokes in a dressing room. Obviously we have a female version as well, so but in this example we have lots of veterans who come through that particular route who either don't want to go anywhere near a mental health service or won't come to my service, but they'll certainly go to a rugby club where there's a bunch of blokes who seem alright, and you know what blokes are like, they'll take the mickey out of each other, but unbelievably supportive in that group as well. It's quite fascinating and heartwarming to be in that. But you're absolutely right. Veterans are very like rugby league were, because it's that macho thing, massively. I know it's changed quite a bit, but there's loads of lads who are really struggling out there, so we're open to do great.
Lovely, thank you. Anybody else, please? Any more questions? General, I can connect because I was in the military in my past career. I was a military band musician, and health and safety and music and back pain and stuff. I started off as a boy service soldier at 16 and a half. Well, health and safety should have been in place, but I carried a tuba, £20, and over 23 years carried it for 6 hours a day, mostly working in the Welsh Guards in London. So for me to say I can't cope was very difficult, but too late, unfortunately, keeping on, pushing on, pushing on. I suffered 4 slip discs. Luckily, I'm in my second career now with wonderful people like you see in front of you, and I'm in a different place. I've just become a mental health first aider, and a lot of, well, I'd say all of what you've mentioned, I try to take on board. I'm mostly stuck in an office. Some of the things I try to do is I don't eat at my desk, whether I want to or not. When I'm working with Warrington, I take a 30-minute walk. That's my minimum lunch hour. I physically go out. If I've got nowhere to go, I would just simply go and walk for 30 minutes. You wouldn't believe how refreshing that is to go away from the desk, to clear your mind, and then you're refreshed and focused for the afternoon's work. That's something that's really important, I think, is to take time out in your day to have a break. We often eat in our workplaces. It's not healthy at all. Have that break. I'm also conscious of what you touched on, gentlemen, about mindfulness. Is even now when I'm even stuck in the traffic, I'll often open my windows. I'll be conscious of the wind blowing through my window. Just the tiniest little things about being a human being in life on planet Earth, here and now. I can't believe how much of a difference it makes when you're conscious of the environment that you're in, instead of worrying about things that, again, stress. You're worrying about what's coming next week. You're worrying about what you did last week that you didn't think was so good, even though probably 95% of it you did an amazing job. You don't give yourself that credit. So, gentlemen, I do totally, and we take on board a lot of what you say, and we need to put that into practice, don't we? We need to make sure we discuss and talk. And mental health has always been there, but I think it's coming along as a pretty new subject. We need to grasp that, don't we, and run with it. Sorry. But gentlemen, really, really huge thanks, Jimmy. You know, you've come through such adversity to come and present, and you know, you were standing for a long period of time in front of us tonight, where you said you were laying in the bed some years back. We really, all of us from IOSH Staffordshire branch, you with your colleagues, please carry on and continue what you do, because you're amazingly inspirational in fighting the fight. So congratulations, you guys. Thank you very much. So the gentlemen have got loads of these mini leaflets.
Cards.
The cards, so please hang around afterwards. There's loads of networking to do. There's no doubt food and drink left. Don't rush off if you don't have to. Make the best of networking with like-minded professionals and friends. And of course, come and see these 4 guys and make sure you have a chat to them and see if you can implement that with your workforce in your workplace, and try and get their details if you can, because certainly they've got a fantastic story to share with you. So thank you very much, Steve, Mark, and Jimmy, for coming on tonight. We've got a present, small token for our thanks to you each. Michelle's thank you very much. Thanks very much. And really hope you have a safe journey tonight. As I say, please hang around and engage. And if you do have to shoot off, when you do, please have a safe journey home. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.